After over 200 videos and close to 3 years of consistent posting here on the channel, I realized I've been building the wrong business. And if you are a female entrepreneur who is trying to balance business, life, and faith, well, then this might be one of the most important videos I've ever made. I'm about to explain what's changing, why it matters, and what you can expect from me in 2026. And normally this is the point where I stop and tell you to like and subscribe to the channel and all of that. But this time I'm going to tell you to wait until the end before you do that. So I talk here a lot about making sure that you set aside time to go back and review things in your business, what's working, what's not working, but also to make sure that you're on the right path. And my focus when I started this channel was to speak to other female entrepreneurs just like myself, but the ones who didn't feel as comfortable or confident in the tech side of their business. And that's what I've been doing. I've been creating videos and tutorials to teach all of those tools, to break things down, started to morph even more into talking specifically about productivity because I know that is so, so important. But when I stopped and reviewed my analytics here towards the end of the year, I recognized that, yes, I am helping a lot of people do that. The problem is I'm not helping the audience that I intended to help. My analytics tell me that the majority of my audience, the majority of my subscribers are men from ages about 25 to 44, and they're the ones who are most interested in productivity, and good on you guys. That is amazing. There's nothing wrong with that audience, but that's not who I'm called to serve. The content that I've been creating has been attracting an audience that needed it, and I'm so glad for that, but it's not the audience that is my mission. Now, you guys know if you've been around for a while that consistency in anything, really, but especially in content creation, is something that I really struggled with pre my YouTube channel. And so when I came into the channel, my number one goal was to create consistent content, helpful content, obviously, but to really build that habit and that routine. And I've done that to the point where I feel like I'm starting to become known for that, at least in my circles, which is kind of amazing to me. But what that means for someone like me, and maybe for you too, is that because I built that level of consistency, I've built that routine, that habit is ingrained in me, it's hard to break from it. It's hard to say, "Ooh, I am not going to film a video next week intentionally," because it feels like a failure. It feels like a break from consistency and like everything is just going to unravel around me if I do that. And so I went back to the source. I went back to the man, the book that actually inspired and really helped me finally click in with habit building and consistency. And you guys know, if you've been around for a while, that that's James Clear, and the book is Atomic Habits. And so I went back to James to see, does he have any wisdom in this kind of situation? Because I know that there are times when even good habits need to be broken, but sometimes we need that reinforcement of what we know in our gut, what we can feel. And so I went to James for that. And I found this quote from the book that reinforced and reminded me like what it's all about. And the quote is this: "It's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. You have a new goal and a new plan, but you haven't changed who you are." Now, James, I remember this quote when I read the book, actually, and it was incredibly impactful for me then. But I feel like I'm hearing it in a slightly different way this time. Before, it was, I had to change the underlying beliefs that led me to be so inconsistent, so flaky, whatever you want to call it. Now, it's that underlying belief, that fear that if I let go and shift those habits in a different way, that everything's just going to fall apart, and that all of the character that I built in the past 3 years of being that consistent person is just going to fall away because it was an illusion, right? This is showing me, no, I did actually change those underlying beliefs. And now I have a new goal and a new plan. And so I need to make a shift, an intentional shift, in order to move in the direction of who I want to become. So while I have this consistent channel, it's been consistently growing, and honestly, it's been growing a business for me that I didn't even expect. My Trello consulting business, which is starting to become very solid and just not at all what I thought I was going to be doing. And that's great. And I don't want to stop doing any of that. But I had to really stop and think like, but go back to when I started the channel. Why did I start the channel? What was my mission? Who did I want to serve? And it was other women like me. We may have different circumstances that make us incredibly busy and struggling to balance our business, our life, and our faith. And that's something that I didn't really think about when I first started my channel. It wasn't something that I originally tried to incorporate, but you guys know I've been doing that more lately. And it was always a part of who I was. And so it always felt a little weird that it wasn't there. So I'm realizing, yeah, that's who I was wanting to talk to in the first place. That was who my mission was. And I kind of lost sight of that along the way in my habit building and my consistency. So all this to say, I've already hinted at and told you there are going to be some changes here on the channel. And they're going to start with me remembering who it is that I am meant to serve. So that's why I said at the beginning, if you are a female entrepreneur like me that is trying to balance business, life, faith, all of that, well, this channel has always been meant for you. And I'm going to be getting back to that core mission in 2026. And I know from personal experience that the only way to come anywhere near finding that balance is through having systems. But they have to be systems that respect your priorities, which means they have to be kind of flexible. It's not just about maximizing productivity. It's about having an adaptable system, an adaptable routine. And I know these are words that as women, we don't necessarily like to think of as much. And I think that's why a lot of my content reaches men more, because I don't know, I'm in a very male dominated world being on the tech side of things. And so maybe I talk a little bit more like them. So I'm going to work on that and try to use words that are a little bit more relatable to us as women. But it's not just about getting the most stuff done. It's not about checking off all the things on the to-do list. It's about being able to balance our priorities the way that we need to. And sometimes that means being flexible and letting things change, knowing what our absolute top priority in our business space is. This is the one thing I have to get done, no excuses. So that then if family or something else needs to kind of sneak in and take up more of our time that day, it's okay because we got that one thing that was really important done. And that is the routine that I built for myself, but I don't think I've been clearly explaining that to you guys. I know that we get business advice from all kinds of people. And I remember personally when I first started out, so much of the advice was like, you have to give so much of your time to your business. If you're not all in, then it's just not going to happen. And I mean, I've learned from experience over the last decade that that is just not true. Yes, it's going to grow maybe faster if you're all in and giving all of your attention to it, but slow growth is still growth. So I think that it's important to recognize that. But then there's also the other side of the spectrum where people talk about how, well, it's all about balance and you should be able to make, as much money as you want to make in only 10 or 20 hours a week. And I mean, that's not really realistic either, at least not at first. You have to get to a certain place of established credibility and all of that before that's even remotely possible. So how do you get there without having to go all in for too long first? That's the kind of thing that I want to talk about. We're going to talk about balancing and creating systems and routines for your business, but also incorporating life and even faith into that entire mix, because you don't compartmentalize those things yourself. So why am I compartmentalizing it here? Why is our advice compartmentalized? This channel is going to be about helping you find balance holistically in all of those areas of your life. So one thing that means is when it comes to my podcasts, which is right now the TSA Weekly and Faith and Focus, I've talked in the past about why I split them. I was doing that to respect my existing audience who might have felt like the faith aspect was kind of snuck in there. Well, now that I'm really getting back to talking to you, who I wanted to talk to in the first place, I don't see the same need to split those things. Like I just said, you don't separate your faith from your business. In fact, one of the main reasons that I created that podcast in the first place is because so much of being an entrepreneur is about personal development, self-development. I mean, you probably did not expect to learn so much about who you are and what makes you tick and all of that just because you wanted to start selling, I don't know, healthcare products or makeup or whatever it is that you're selling. You didn't expect to learn so much about yourself. But here's the reality. When we are Christ followers, when we are faith-based women, we cannot separate our faith from self. We can't separate it from personal development. It's so much a part of the conversation and a part of the equation. So it doesn't make any sense to split those two things. It's why I started the Faith and Focus podcast, because so much of what I wanted to say all the time in the TSA Weekly was based on my faith, right? Because that's so much a part of who I am that I didn't know how to separate it. So I kind of gave myself an outlet for it. But I'm realizing that you're just like me. You're combining all of that too. You can't separate your faith from personal development or even really from your business. It all goes together. So I'm not going to be splitting them anymore either. I feel like this is a clean enough break that anybody who was here checking out the TSA Weekly podcast or my tutorials or whatever that might have felt like the faith got snuck in there a little bit. I love you guys. I am not trying to push you away in any way, shape, or form, but at the same time, I need to be true to myself. I need to be true to the audience that I am called to reach. So that is going to be merged together in the way that, in my opinion, it always should have been. And I know this kind of feels like a little bit of a culture shock situation. I really don't feel like it will be in the long run, but I was kind of feeling a little bit that way too. I was doing a little bit of research and like, well, should I ease into this a little bit more? Like, what's the best thing for you guys? And I found a quote from another one of my favorites, Tommy Baker. He wrote the 1% rule, and it's very similar to Atomic Habits. I found it because of my Success Through Community podcast. I was looking for books to read for that, and I ran across this, but he has a quote that I feel like is kind of giving me the confidence to just like dive in here and not try to ease in. And what he said was this: without starting and jumping into the cold water, you'll never clearly see the pivot and the opportunity in front of you, no matter what area of life you're in. So, guys, I'm jumping, and I hope you jump with me. So here's what it's going to look like next year. Starting in January, I'm going to be doing one monthly deep dive. So essentially think of that as one longer form podcast episode. And then the rest of the weeks of the month, instead of more long form videos for you guys to try and find time to watch in your busy schedule, I will be doing quick little tip videos that are related back to the deep dive topic that we were talking about for the month. These videos will be roughly 5 minutes or less. It's just meant to be kind of an enforcement about what we were talking about, something actionable for you that week that can help you move in the right direction. But I know that you still need to learn how to do things. So every other week, I will still be releasing tutorial videos, things on Trello, Canva, and maybe I'll start bringing in some other tools or maybe even tool agnostic things, just things that are teaching you how to look at your business in different ways and be strategic about your process and routines and things like that. So those tutorials will still exist. There'll just be a little bit fewer of them so that it can really be quality over quantity. So here's where I say those of you who have been following my channel for a while, and if you're still watching right now, God bless you, because you probably feel like I have completely stopped talking to you. But if you're still here, I just want you to know there will still be new content, new tutorials coming out for you. You're not going to stop learning how to use these tools. It's just all going to be framed a little bit differently. It was easy for me to get bogged down with trying to do all the things. We do that as women a lot. Even when we know that we're meant to go off in maybe a slightly different direction, it's hard to know what is important and what's not and what we need to hold on to. And so I'm going to pull from the wisdom of Marie Forleo for this. And she has a quote, I think it's from her newest book, which I haven't read yet, but I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's called something like Everything is Figure Outable, which I love. But her quote is this. She says, simplify to amplify. When you know what's important, it's a lot easier to ignore what's not. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm simplifying the format of the channel so that I can amplify the things that I know are important. And then I can ignore the things that were just kind of noise and getting in the way. So I'll be doing fewer videos overall, but it will be more intentional content, which is way more valuable for you. And honestly, way more sustainable for me. So like I said, my current audience, if you guys are still watching, none of my tutorials are going anywhere. I'm not getting rid of anything on this channel. In fact, there will be some new exciting membership content coming up soon. There's a feature that YouTube has been kind of testing out, and when it's fully baked and I'm able to actually use it, you're actually going to get the ability to access a whole lot more training and tutorials for me. So stick around for that. And remember that there will be 2 tutorials coming out every month. So there's still going to be new content for you, even if you don't become a member. But my primary focus is shifting. And this wisdom comes from my absolute favorite. I've joked before that she's my spirit animal. I don't know why I said that in that video, but I just feel Like, she's just so authentic and real. So a lot of the stuff that she says really resonates with me. What she said was this: when you say no to somebody and you never thought you could say no, that's how you say yes to the person that you want to be. So I'm not saying no to you, but I am saying no to the busyness that this channel was starting to create in me, the busyness that was taking me farther and farther away from serving the people that I know that I am called to serve. So I am saying no to the busyness and yes to this change, this simplicity in my focus and in my channel, so that it's taking me more in the direction of the person that I know I am meant to be. So what happens next? For the remainder of the year, for the remainder of Q4, I'm going to be a whole lot quieter here on the channel. I'm not saying you won't hear from me at all. I'm certain that you will, but I'm going to be taking that time to prepare, to build the foundation for this new direction of the channel and for my business. And because I know that some of you won't stick around for this new chapter because it doesn't feel right for you, and I totally respect that, I'm going to come back to wisdom from another one of my favorites, Simon Sinek, on this one. And he says, it's better to reach the right goal with a slower pace than to speed off and be lost on the way. Well, this has always been my philosophy with the channel, which is why I haven't chased trends to try to go viral and make my channel just blow up super fast. I very much took the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise perspective here of consistency and quality so that I could slowly and slowly build my channel and go in the direction that I want to go. And this is no different. So if I backtrack a little bit here because you decide that this is not the right space for you to be in anymore, I'm okay with that, because I know that I'm working towards the correct goal and that I am going to be serving the people that I am meant to serve along the way. I am building a business channel for other women just like me who refuse to choose between business, life, and faith, and who know that our systems need to reflect that. If that's you, I hope that you will join me and bring along your business bestie who you know is going to love this content too. So here's where I'm going to do what I normally do at the beginning and say, if that's you, subscribe. Make sure you turn on the notifications by clicking that little bell so that you do not miss the very first episode in January, and be a part of this from day one. This isn't just a content shift, it's a movement.